you're over 40, you're hooked on jiu-jitsu, but you're constantly getting sidelined with nagging injuries. The tweaked back, the sore shoulder, and that elbow that screams every time you post on the mat. You're probably telling yourself it's just your age, or you're training too hard, or maybe you're just not as durable as you used to be. But what if I told you that that's not the real problem? My name is Ben, and I've been training jiu-jitsu for about a year and a half now. I've been through it all. The same tweaked back, the same sore shoulders. I've woken up feeling like I just got hit by a truck, wondering if I'm even going to be able to make it to class that day. But now I train more intelligently without the constant fear of injury. And honestly, I see a lot of my training partners doing the same. The problem isn't that you're old, the problem is that you're recovering all wrong. For the over 40 crowd, recovery isn't an optional add-on, it is part of the training. It's a secret technique that keeps you on the mats, keeps you healthy, and helps you actually get better for the long haul. In this video, I'm going to give you the 5 most common recovery mistakes that BJJ athletes over 40 make and give you a simple evidence-based game plan to fix them. The goal? To keep you on the mats, not just for a few more years, but for decades to come. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of everything, we really have to address the elephant in the room, your ego. For a lot of us that started later in life or who are trying to hang with the 22-year-old killers in the gym, our ego is writing checks that our body just cannot cash. It's that little voice in your head that's telling you not to tap on the new guy, or maybe to go for one more hard round when you're already gassed and about to throw up, or to push through a sharp pain because you just don't want to look weak. While injury risk is complex, that little voice is a huge driver in injury and burnout, especially in older grapplers. The fundamental shift you have to make is from trying to win every training session to playing the long game. The real goal isn't to be the king of the mat on a random Tuesday night class, but to be a black belt when you're 60, 70, or even beyond that. Still moving, still rolling, and still loving this art form. And that requires what you might call an ego death. It just means accepting that you don't have to go 100 miles an hour every single roll. It means being okay with tapping. It means that consistency demolishes intensity. Training 3 to 4 smart sessions per week is infinitely better than training 7 brutally soul-crushing sessions a week for 6 months before your body just breaks down for good. Recovery isn't passive. It is an active skill that you have to build. It's the bridge that lets you train consistently, and that consistency is what leads to real sustainable progress. So let's talk about the first and probably most common mistake in building that bridge. You finish a tough class, you're drenched in sweat, you chug a bottle of water, job done, right? Wrong. This is one of the biggest and easiest recovery mistakes to fix. If you're over 40 and your recovery feels like garbage, if you're sluggish, getting headaches after training, or dealing with muscle cramps, sometimes it's not aging. It's honestly just that you might be dehydrated, or more importantly, you haven't replenished your electrolytes. When you sweat for 90 minutes in a hot gi, you're not just losing water. Your body is pouring out critical minerals called electrolytes. And the most important one is sodium. You also lose potassium and magnesium, but sodium is by far the most important mineral. These minerals are responsible for everything from muscle contractions to nerve function. When they're depleted, your performance tanks, your muscles cramp, and your recovery just grinds to a halt. Plain water alone sometimes just isn't enough, because in cases of extreme sweat loss, it can actually further dilute the electrolytes you have left. For a hard training grappler, especially a heavy, salty sweater, you might need to replenish a significant amount of sodium before you can even get back to baseline. Some athletes can lose anywhere from 1 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium in just one training session. The fix is simple. Just add an electrolyte mix to your regular water. You can drink it before, during, or after class. I prefer about an hour before and immediately after. By the way, don't get lost in the marketing hype of fancy, overpriced brands. Just look for a mix with a good amount of sodium in it, ideally with some potassium and magnesium. It's not magic by any means, but it is a cheap, easy fix that can make a world of difference in how you feel the next day. You finish class, you drive home, you get pulled into life, and maybe you have a real meal an hour or two later. Sound familiar? For a younger athlete, that's probably fine. For us, it's a massive missed opportunity. Post-class protein is not optional. It's one of the easiest recovery wins you can get. Here's why it's different as we get older. Our bodies become less efficient at repairing and building muscle. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. It basically just means that after a workout has broken down our muscle tissue, we need a stronger signal and more raw materials to kickstart the repair process compared to a younger athlete. Protein provides both. Research on masters athletes has shown that while training does help, it doesn't completely erase this age-related resistance. However, getting enough protein can definitely help bridge that gap. And some studies suggest that it may even help reduce feelings of fatigue. Preserving our muscle mass isn't necessarily about looking good, it's about injury resilience. Stronger muscles protect our joints and connective tissues, which are often the first things to start complaining. The advice is pretty straightforward. Aim to get a solid dose of high quality protein, ideally within an hour or so of training. For most, a target of about 25 to 40 grams is a great starting point. The easiest way is a whey protein shake. It's fast and it's really convenient. But real food is fantastic and honestly the better choice. So think things like chicken breasts, a plate of eggs, a big bowl of Greek yogurt, things like that. Now, you don't need to slam a shake the second you step off the mat. The old idea of a rigid 30-minute anabolic window has, for the most part, been debunked and overblown quite a bit. But the principle still holds true. Your body is primed for repair after training. So giving it the fuel that it needs to repair sooner rather than later is probably the smarter move. But remember the bigger picture. It's your total daily protein intake that actually matters. The post-training meal is just a powerful tactic that can help you hit that daily goal. The supplement industry is a minefield, especially for older athletes looking to get an edge. We often make the mistake of searching for some magic pill that's going to help our recovery problems. Let's be clear, supplements are gap fillers. They do not replace the foundations of good sleep, nutrition, and hydration. That being said, there are a few key supplements that do have solid evidence behind them and can be especially helpful for the over 40 grappler. First, fish oil or omega-3s. If you're not eating fatty fish like salmon a couple of times a week, a fish oil supplement can be a great idea. Omega-3s play a big role in managing inflammation and supporting joint and heart health. And no, this isn't an instant painkiller for your achy elbow. It's more like a long-term investment for your body's overall health. Second, magnesium. This mineral is a workhorse, involved in hundreds of bodily processes, including muscle relaxation and sleep quality. And honestly, many active people just don't get enough. Taking a well-absorbed form like magnesium glycinate in the evening can often improve sleep and even help ease muscle tension. Third, vitamin D3, often paired with K2. Vitamin D is critical for bone health, immune function, and muscle function. If you train indoors, you work indoors, and you don't get a lot of sun, probably a good chance that your levels are low. Since it is a fat-soluble vitamin, it's always a good idea to get your levels checked by a doctor before you start taking really high doses. Finally, let's talk about amino acids like BCAAs or EAAs. You see these everywhere, but here's the honest truth. If you're eating enough high-quality protein throughout the day, these supplements are almost entirely useless. Essential amino acids might offer a small benefit, especially if you train fasted or really struggle to get enough high-quality protein around your workouts. But for most people, your money is far better spent on a high-quality protein powder or just more chicken. Don't let some fancy, well-marketed amino powder distract you from the real solution, which is just to eat more high-quality protein. What do you do after training? Head home, crash on the couch, maybe scroll through your phone for an hour? And while rest is crucial, you're missing a key step: actively downshifting your nervous system. Jiu-Jitsu is not just physically demanding, it's very neurologically demanding. A hard rolling session jacks your body into a fight or flight state. If you don't give your nervous system a clear signal to downshift back into a rest and digest state, then you're just going to stay in that low-level stress mode, which is just going to kill your recovery. This is where a simple recovery ritual comes in. It's about creating a repeatable routine that tells your body and your brain that the fight is over and it's time to heal. Now, this is also where you might hear about trendy tools like grounding mats. Now, I'm not going to tell you a grounding mat is magic. The scientific evidence for them is pretty sparse and low quality. But if using one for 15 minutes forces you to lie down, take deep breaths, slow things down, get off your phone, then it's serving a very powerful purpose. The tool itself is less powerful than the actual ritual behind it. The mistake isn't failing to buy some fancy gadget, it's just doing nothing at all to actively decompress. Your active recovery ritual could be just 10 minutes of light stretching or foam rolling. It could be a short, quiet walk outside. It could be 5 minutes of very focused box breathing. The goal is simple: to just transition from a state of high alert to steady calm. This small act of downshifting can have a huge impact on your sleep quality and just how you feel the next day. Now, this leads to our final and probably most overlooked mistake. We completely ignore the mental and neurological side of recovery. We obsess over our joints and our muscles, but we forget that our brain and our central nervous system are being pushed to the limit. A lot of jiu-jitsu burnout from the over 40 crowd is not just from one tough class. It's the accumulated stress of work, family dynamics, and hard training sessions all piled onto one person. All sources of stress: a fight with your boss, a bad day at work, you're up all night maybe with a sick kid, and a shark tank of hard rolls draw from the same limited recovery bank account. As we get older with more life responsibilities, that account is often overdrawn before we even step on the mat. That's why some days you feel like a world beater and some days you just feel weak and clumsy for no apparent reason. A lot of times it's not your body that's failing, it's just your fried nervous system. The solution is to treat mental recovery as seriously as you treat physical recovery. And no, this doesn't mean you need to meditate for hours. It just means taking small, deliberate steps to manage your total stress load. It means maybe having 1 or 2 easy sessions a week where you just drill or flow and not go to war the whole time. It means prioritizing quality sleep because that's where your brain truly recovers and consolidates everything you've learned. And it all comes back to ego. If every roll is a battle for survival, your body's not going to be the only thing that breaks. Your motivation will too. Learn to find joy in the technical puzzle of jiu-jitsu and not just the physical fight. This mental shift won't just protect your body, it'll keep you from burning out and quitting the sport you love. So let's recap. The real reason you keep getting hurt aren't just about getting older, it's because you're recovering like you're still 22. You're making one of 5 common mistakes. You're just drinking water instead of replenishing electrolytes. You're not prioritizing protein. You're chasing magic pills. You're not actively downshifting after training. And you're totally ignoring your mental and neurological recovery. The good news is that every single one of these is fixable. Start by picking just one. Add electrolytes to your water. Commit to a protein shake after class. Take a 5-minute walk to decompress before you drive home. Small, consistent changes are what create massive results. Remember, recovery is a skill, and for the over 40 grappler, it is the most important skill you can learn. At this age, the game isn't just about who can roll the hardest, it's about who can recover the smartest to show up next week, next month, and for years to come. Do me a favor, if you got any value from this, hit the like button and subscribe for more content on jiu-jitsu for the long haul. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know what's one recovery mistake that you've been making. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the mat.